Imagine this scene. You walk into a voting booth. The lights are bright. The word democracy hangs on the wall like a promise. You hold the ballot in your hand, pen hovering above the paper, and a strange discomfort creeps in. A question you've never fully allowed yourself to face: what if this was a ritual designed long before you ever stepped inside? You're told your vote matters. Repeatedly. Relentlessly. Each ballot is framed as your voice, your power, your proof of freedom. But have you ever stopped to ask, if the real direction of society is never decided by this piece of paper, what purpose does it truly serve? The more democracy is celebrated, the more powerless you feel. No matter who you vote for, the world seems to move in the same direction. Wealth keeps concentrating. Rules grow more complex. The people who truly control resources remain the same, faceless, distant, untouchable. You begin to wonder, am I just bad at understanding politics, or is this system not meant to be understood at all? More than 2,000 years ago, Aristotle issued a warning: when wealth becomes too concentrated, democracy inevitably decays into oligarchy. Not through violence, but through rules. Not through dictatorship, but through legality. Not by taking away your vote, but by draining it of real consequence. And that is the most dangerous part. If someone openly told you your voice meant nothing, you would resist. But if they tell you that you are free, that you have choices, while every option leads to the same outcome, you begin to doubt yourself instead. Did I choose wrong? Am I uninformed? Am I irrational? So you blame yourself, not the system. You turn democracy into a belief rather than a tool that must be constantly questioned. You defend it even when reality repeatedly contradicts your intuition. You tell yourself, at least we can vote, at least this isn't tyranny. But deep down, a thought flickers: what if freedom is simply a well-packaged illusion? The most unsettling truth is this: those who manipulate democracy don't need to cancel elections. They only need to control narratives, money, media, education, and agenda setting. They don't need to tell you who to vote for, they only need to decide which choices will never appear on the ballot. Your vote still exists. Your freedom still exists. But your influence is quietly hollowed out. So the real question becomes this: if a system is fully democratic in form, yet consistently serves only a tiny elite in outcome, can it still be called democracy? And the more brutal question: if you spend your life defending a system that never truly represented you, are you protecting freedom, or participating in a sophisticated form of self-deception? Aristotle's warning was never a historical footnote. It is unfolding right now, in your time, in a more polished, civilized, and harder to detect form. And this is only where the story truly begins. What's truly terrifying is not that democracy is manipulated, but that you don't feel manipulated at all. If control were purely external, laws, police, force, bans, history has shown again and again that people eventually resist. The brilliance of modern democracy lies in this: it no longer relies on overt oppression. Control has been relocated into your inner world. Carl Jung called this internalized authority. When power no longer stands in front of you but takes residence within your psychological structure, obedience becomes automatic, and even self-justified. You are trained to believe, the system is neutral, the market is rational, success is the result of personal effort, failure is your own fault. And so a crucial psychological mechanism is quietly implanted: if the outcome is unfair, it must be because I'm not good enough, not because the rules are broken. This is Nietzsche's concept of slave morality in modern form. Not forcing you to bow, but teaching you to feel ashamed for standing tall. Not demanding obedience, but framing obedience as maturity, rationality, realism. You become afraid of labels like extreme, populist, or irrational. You learn self-censorship, self-silencing, self-minimization. Your anger is renamed emotional instability. Your questions are dismissed as lack of understanding. Over time, you stop asking who sets the rules and focus instead on how to survive within them. Schopenhauer saw this clearly. He argued that most people do not truly seek truth, they seek security. Democracy offers the illusion of participation while trapping you in constant competition, anxiety, and comparison. You're busy surviving, proving your worth, avoiding failure, leaving little energy to question the structure above you. And in this process, the ultra-rich don't need conspiracy-level control. They only need to do one thing: define the boundaries of what counts as rational. When you can only think within their language, debate within their permitted questions, and compete within their value system, you've already lost. Because the most dangerous form of power doesn't silence you, it decides in advance which ideas will sound unreasonable. Jean-Paul Sartre once said humans are condemned to be free. Today, you are given a freedom you cannot truly use. You can choose, but not reshape the structure of choices. You can speak, but never touch the core. Democracy slowly transforms from an expression of collective will into a psychological comfort device. It makes you feel involved without real control. It gives you responsibility without access to real power. And the more seriously you perform the role of a good citizen, the easier it becomes to overlook a deeper question. If you are never allowed to decide what truly matters, what are you actually participating in? That is where the next layer of truth begins to reveal itself. Real control doesn't crush you outright. It allows you to live an entire life in a tolerable level of dissatisfaction. Have you noticed that most people don't fail all at once? They are slowly worn down. At first, things just feel a little unfair. Then you learn to comfort yourself, that's just how reality works. Eventually, you lose the ability to feel injustice at all. This is the system's greatest success: it doesn't destroy you, it shrinks you. Psychology calls this learned helplessness. When someone repeatedly experiences the cycle of effort, failure, personal blame, the brain eventually stops expecting change. Not because you're lazy, but because your nervous system learns that hope is dangerous. So you lower your goals, your desires, the scale of your questions. You stop asking, why must housing be like this, and start asking, can I work another job? You stop asking, who designed the economic rules, and focus on, how can I survive within them? Your world slowly contracts. When enough people undergo this inner contraction, society enters a strange phase. Structural violence starts to feel natural. Unemployment is no longer systemic, it's personal failure. Poverty is no longer about distribution, it's about discipline. Political apathy is reframed as maturity, not as a symptom of dispossession. Hannah Arendt warned about this state long ago: when people stop judging, stop feeling outrage, and simply live normally, extreme injustice becomes easiest to sustain. At that point, rulers no longer need tyrants. They only need procedures, algorithms, rating systems, and expert consensus. Your vote, within this structure, becomes a psychological ritual. It rarely alters real power, but it reinforces a feeling: you've done your part. This is the most subtle consequence. Politics is internalized as moral self-discipline, not collective struggle. You blame yourself for voting wrong, choosing poorly, yet rarely question why the decisions that shaped the economy, wars, and resource flows were never on the ballot. Gradually, a deeper alienation sets in. You begin mistaking systemic indifference for the nature of reality. You come to believe this is simply how life is meant to be: competitive, anxious, isolated, exhausted. And in this state of universal exhaustion, the ultra-rich gain unprecedented freedom. Because a population drained of attention and emotional energy cannot engage in real political thought. Democracy doesn't collapse. It fades into a backdrop, still visible, but no longer load-bearing. And when you finally see this, a more disturbing question emerges: if these consequences have already shaped your personality, choices, and life trajectory, how much free will do you actually have left? That is the question we must now confront. Real rebellion rarely begins in the streets. It begins in a quieter, and far more dangerous, place, your cognitive structure. If the ultra-rich manipulate democracy by teaching you that the rules are unchangeable, then the first act of rebellion is refusing to treat the present as natural law. Your task is not to find solutions immediately. It's to withdraw a premise you were taught to accept without question: not everything that exists is justified. Nietzsche understood this clearly. Most people, he argued, are not oppressed, they are domesticated. They learn to run within fences, and eventually, to defend those fences. So awakening is not about choosing a better candidate. It's about asking deeper questions. Who decides the range of choices? Who defines what is realistic and what is naive? And who continues to profit from those definitions? Aristotle saw this long before modern democracies existed. He never believed that one person, one vote guaranteed freedom. When wealth concentrates, he warned, power inevitably bends toward oligarchy, because power flows to those who can shape the rules themselves. True rebellion means shifting your attention away from the stage performance and toward the backstage machinery. From political language to capital flows. From emotional tribalism to material interests. That's why history's most clear-minded individuals were often misunderstood or marginalized in their time. Socrates didn't run for office, he was executed. Spinoza was expelled from his community, yet left behind a philosophy of freedom. Gandhi rejected formal power, yet dismantled an empire's moral legitimacy. They shared one trait: they refused to let the system define who they were. You begin to realize that the power you can reclaim isn't grand authority, but three things that were quietly taken from you: attention, judgment, and time. When you stop being dragged by outrage cycles, when you learn to distinguish manufactured conflicts from real interest structures, when you invest time in complexity instead of identity-based comfort, you are already rebelling. This rebellion won't change the world overnight. But it will change your position within it. And once enough people make this inner shift, the system's greatest fear comes true: it loses its monopoly over reality itself. But we're not done yet. The most unsettling truth still lies beneath the surface. Consider this question carefully. If your vote has never truly altered the direction of power, what does the system actually need your participation for? The answer is colder than you might expect. It doesn't need your decision, it needs your consent. Aristotle remains dangerous because he stated what most systems refuse to admit: every political order ultimately serves those who control the most resources. The only difference is whether it can still convince the majority that they are the ones in control. The genius of modern democracy is not empowerment, but the illusion of empowerment. You are allowed to vote, but not to shape the economic structure. You are allowed to express outrage, but not to challenge capital logic. You are allowed to swing between ideologies, but not to ask the real question: why do the rules remain largely unchanged no matter who wins? This is not a conspiracy. It is a structure. You believe you are participating in history, but more often, you are placed inside a carefully engineered emotional loop: anger, hope, disappointment, anger again. Outside that loop, real decisions happen at levels you rarely see: capital allocation, resource distribution, narrative control, rulemaking. Aristotle would call this the most stable form of oligarchy. Not maintained by violence, but by habit. Not enforced by fear, but sustained by identification. So the final awakening is not, who should I support, but a far more unsettling question: have I mistaken problems that cannot be solved by voting for problems that voting was meant to solve? Once you realize this, your entire perspective shifts irreversibly. You stop placing hope in those on the stage and begin examining the stage itself. You stop obsessing over winning elections and start asking what kind of structure keeps most people permanently powerless. This is not cynicism. It is responsibility. Because real democracy is not a system. It is the ability to remain permanently skeptical of power. And real freedom is never granted. It only belongs to those who see the rules clearly, reject illusions, and are willing to pay the price of awareness. If you've reached this point, you will never again view voting, politics, or even success the same way. And that discomfort is the unmistakable sign of awakening.